Imagine diving 300 feet below the freezing surface of the Baltic Sea, expecting to find a century-old wooden shipwreck, only to come face to face with a massive 200-foot wide stone disk that looks shockingly like a crashed alien spacecraft. But that wasn't the terrifying part. The moment the research team descended to take samples, their satellite phones instantly died. Deep-sea cameras malfunctioned, underwater lights flickered out, and their specialized electronic equipment shut down. Every time they backed away, the gear worked perfectly. The moment they stepped closer to the giant disk, total electrical silence. Did a Swedish team accidentally stumble upon an ancient UFO that crashed thousands of years ago? A top-secret military experiment from World War II, or something that science cannot yet explain? Welcome back to the Hidden Order. The story began in June 2011. A Swedish ocean search team known as OceanX, led by researchers Peter Lindberg and Dennis Asperg, was scanning the seabed between Sweden and Finland. Their mission was purely financial. Using advanced side-scan sonar, they were searching for the wreck of an old World War I merchant ship carrying crates of rare, expensive vintage champagne. But on June 19th, as their sonar swept across a flat, featureless region 300 feet below the surface, an anomaly appeared on the monitors. It wasn't the outline of a ship. Instead, the high-resolution sonar rendered a perfectly round, mushroom-shaped object over 200 feet in diameter. It stood nearly 13 feet high above the sea floor. But what truly baffled the team was what lay behind it. A long, flattened trench stretching for over 1,000 feet, featuring smooth skid marks. It looked as though a massive, heavy object had dragged itself along the seabed during a high-speed forced landing. Determined to solve the mystery, OceanX organized a full-scale expedition in 2012, bringing professional divers, ROVs, and high-definition underwater cameras. But the moment divers touched down on the seabed, anomalies began occurring instantly. Former military diver Stefan Hoborn reported that any electrical device, including satellite communication links, underwater lighting systems, and cameras, stopped working within a 600-foot radius of the object. When the team backed their vessel away, everything turned back on. When they approached, total dead zone. Even more intriguing were the physical descriptions provided by the divers. The object wasn't a loose pile of rocks. The top featured smooth, hallway-like corridors, right-angled walls, and circular alcoves. At the top of the dome, divers observed a strange circular hole surrounded by a dark, soot-like substance, almost like the scorch marks left behind by intense heat or propulsion engines. The divers managed to chip off small rock samples from the object and sent them to scientists, including Dr. Volker Brechert, an associate professor of geology at Stockholm University. The laboratory analysis opened up even more debates. While the base material was confirmed to be dark basalt rock, testing revealed high concentrations of limonite and goethite, iron-rich oxidized minerals rarely found in natural rock formations of this shape, but commonly created during high-temperature metal manufacturing. Furthermore, researchers found traces of manganese and titanium embedded within the samples. Independent geologists pointed out that for a structure to possess right-angled corridors, burnt organic matter on top, and an intense localized electromagnetic field, nature would have had to pull off a mathematical miracle. The most captivating theory, and the one that generated global headlines, is that the anomaly is an extraterrestrial craft or ancient technological vessel, that suffered a catastrophic forced landing. Proponents of this theory highlight three physical clues that are nearly impossible to explain naturally. First is the 1,000-foot-long drag trail extending behind the object. The seabed surrounding the structure is completely flat and smooth, yet this specific trench looks exactly like a high-speed skid mark left by a heavy object impacting the ocean floor. Second is the geometry. Divers noted that the object isn't just a rounded boulder. It features right-angled internal corridors, smooth wall-like surfaces, and a raised dome with a circular hatch on top. Finally, geologists point out that over 14,000 years ago, during the Ice Age, the Baltic Sea was not a sea at all, but dry land covered in ice. If a vessel crashed during that era, it would have been encased in ice, sank as the glaciers melted, and remained preserved at the bottom of the ocean to this day. A second, much more grounded, yet equally sinister, theory suggests the anomaly is a remnant of World War II military engineering. Former Swedish naval officer Anders Otellus proposed that during the war, Nazi Germany built secret anti-submarine installations throughout the Baltic Sea to disrupt Allied and Soviet submarine activity. The Baltic was a crucial trade route for iron ore, vital to the German war machine. According to this theory, the structure is a massive concrete bunker designed to hold heavy wire mesh and radar jamming equipment. This would explain why the object causes severe electromagnetic dead zones for modern equipment. The structure may still house rusted iron frameworks and high-density metals engineered specifically to scramble sonar signals and navigation systems. Furthermore, the use of heavy aggregate concrete would account for the burnt, slag-like soot texture discovered near the dome, created by industrial construction processes rather than natural geology. The third theory comes from skeptical geologists who believe the Baltic Sea Anomaly is simply an extraordinary trick of nature. Scientists like Dr. Volker Bruchert analyzed rock samples from the site and identified them as dark basalt rock, a common volcanic stone. During the last glacial maximum, over 20,000 years ago, massive ice sheets covered northern Europe. As these glaciers shifted across the landscape, they acted like giant conveyor belts, carving out deep trenches and transporting massive boulders hundreds of miles from their origin. When the glaciers melted, they deposited these giant basalt rocks in unusual arrangements. Skeptics argue that the drag mark behind the anomaly is simply a glacial moraine, a natural ridge of sand and gravel formed by melting ice. However, this theory fails to satisfy believers. It doesn't explain the right-angled internal corridors, the presence of manufactured metals like goethite, or the extreme electronic interference experienced by every diving team that approached it. Despite global media coverage, further expeditions to the Baltic Sea Anomaly came to a sudden halt. OceanX lacked the millions of dollars required for heavy deep-sea excavation equipment, and official scientific institutions refused to fund further research, dismissing it as a natural rock. To this day, the massive disk lies untouched, 300 feet below the Baltic Sea, guarding its secrets in the pitch-black freezing water. Is it a natural geological wonder, a relic of World War II, or proof of an alien crash landing? Share your theory in the comments below. If you enjoyed this mystery, hit the like button and subscribe to the Hidden Order for more deep dives into the unknown.